Abir, please unmute VC. Dr. Vinaya, whoever comes as per the agenda, please unmute them.
Shall I start, sir?
Yes. Please remove the poster. Project the speaker.
Sabhayai Namaha. A very good evening to all. The Department of Sanskrit Studies, School of Humanities, University of Hyderabad, is glad to announce Tadvidyasambhāṣā, a series of scholarly lectures on ancient Indian sciences and their interfaces with philosophies and modern sciences. We present the inaugural lecture today titled Advaita and Ayurveda, Conversations and Crosscurrents by Professor K. Muthulekshmi, Pro Vice Chancellor, Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit, Kaladi, Kerala. With a fervent prayer for everyone's health and well-being, we begin the session. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukh bhag bhavet. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. I, Vinaya Ballakur, visiting fellow at the Department of Sanskrit Studies, welcome all the participants. I request the head of Department of Sanskrit Studies and the brain behind this program, Professor J.S.R. Prasad, to give us an introduction to the lecture series.
Thank you, Dr. Vinaya. A very good evening to all the delegates joined online to listen to this wonderful lecture. I extend a cordial welcome to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Vijay Rao Garu, for kindly sparing his valuable time to join us and encouraging us by his words. Also, I would like to welcome Professor K. Murali sir, an eminent doctor and scholar in Ayurveda from Kerala, and who is none other than Professor K. Muthulekshmi's brother. And also Professor Dr. M. Prasad sir, another excellent scholar in Ayurveda and Sanskrit, and one of the direct disciples of Padma Bhushan, Dr. Raghavan Thirumalpad sir, who is the father of Professor K. Muthulekshmi. And Professor Aloka Parashar Sen, Professor Emeritus, Department of Sanskrit Studies, and also eminent industrialist and philanthropist, Dr. G.B.K. Rao Garu, the CMD of Pragati Biopharma and Pragati Research Hyderabad, and many other delegates who kindly joined today to listen to the scholarly lecture by Professor K. Muthulekshmi Madam. The title of the lecture is given as lecture series given as Tadvidyasambhāṣā. Initially, our plan is to seek insights in the specialized areas of Indic studies and Indian knowledge systems from the lectures delivered by eminent scholars and scientists with the decades of rich research. So we assume that the lecture insights would motivate the audience, scholars in general, and inspire students and researchers to work further in the direction. And also, it is expected that mutual interactions are possible that can be extended towards mutual collaboration between institutions. So I take this opportunity to welcome the Chief Speaker of the Day, Professor K. Muthulekshmi Madam, for kindly accepting our invitation to give this lecture, the inaugural lecture, the Tadvidyasambhāṣā lecture series. organized by the department. Tadvidyasambhāṣā means a dialogue with the expert. Vishajasaha sambhāsheta charaka sesin vimanasthana. So the context was about Dr. Bhishak, but we would like to replace the Bhishak with a researcher, Samshodhaka. In place of Chikitsaka, we would like to replace that with Samshodhaka. So that is applicable universally such a way. Scholars like Professor Muthulekshmi Madam, with the decades of rich teaching and research experience, bring a lot of insights in the subject. Exclusively, this topic is intersection between Advaita and Ayurveda. So at the end of the lecture, I think the audience can interact with the speaker. We suggest you to please type out any questions or any clarifications in the chat box. Even the audience who are watching the YouTube, kindly please post your questions over there so that we are able to take up these questions within the limited time. So with these few words, if I miss any guest here, kindly excuse me. The audience can interact once again. The speaker. We suggest you to please type out any questions or any clarifications in the chat box. Even the audience who are watching the YouTube, kindly please post your questions over there so that Dr. Vinay, you take up these questions within the limited time. So with these few words, if I miss any guests here, kindly excuse me.
We are indeed privileged to have Professor B.J. Rao Garu,
the lecture.
our Vice Chancellor, University of Hyderabad, with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for joining us and sparing your valuable time for us. I request our Vice Chancellor to kindly give his remarks about this.
Dr. Vinay, you are muted.
Thank you very much. This is our indeed a great pleasure to initiate a series on Indic studies.
We are indeed privileged to have Professor B.J. Rao Garu, our Vice Chancellor, University of Hyderabad, with us today. Thank you, sir, for joining us and sparing your valuable time for us.
Greetings to
I request our Vice Chancellor to kindly give his remarks about this lecture series.
Thank you very much. Earlier colleague, this is our indeed a great pleasure to initiate a series on Indic studies. Rao Garu. It is a special pleasure. Others also in the audience, I really appreciate their presence here. Muthulekshmi Garu. This is a very valuable series that we are initiating today. And my greetings to also area called Indic Studies, Professor J.S.R. Prasad. This is a very profound and my earlier colleague domain of knowledge, which we have just begun uncovering Rao Garu in educational systems. Others also in the audience, I really appreciate still have not here properly framed. This is a very valuable resources that teaching resources today. This very deep area on an area of Indic studies is deep as well as very wide. This is a very profound, I hope, domain of knowledge. This series that we have initiated today begun uncovering Professor Muthulekshmi Garu's in educational systems inaugural lecture. Gives us enough, we still have not properly framed to do enough work towards developing curriculum resources, teaching resources, palatable in this very deep area. Curricular content area of Indic studies is in this domain, deep as well as very wide. This particular area, Indic studies, is very, very dear to my heart. This series that we have initiated today, no stretch of imagination, Muthulekshmi Garu's anywhere inaugural lecture, being a scholar, gives us enough impetus. I am to do enough work towards developing genetics, useful, palatable, and biology, curricular content. Whenever we study in this domain, natural sciences, this particular area, we come to a point where very dear to my heart, give up on answering how the imagination really I am anywhere close to come to a transition where the real I am a researcher in genetics and biology. But whenever we study natural sciences, we come to a point where we give up on answering how the things really happen. We come to a transition where the reality suddenly changes from being physical to being non-physical. And it is in this non-physical domain that Indic studies has made very deep contributions. And my own personal interest is to look at this particular transition point between physical world and non-physical world, where the so-called method of science simply transitions into some other analysis which is very deeply rooted to Indic studies. This is my way of looking at it. I am at that twilight zone, and I want to gain insights at that twilight zone by becoming a student of Indic studies. So this is a fortunate moment for people like us to be associated with this activity. Thank you very much, Dr. Muthulekshmi Garu, for sparing time and educating us in this very important area. Namaste to all of you.
Thank you indeed, sir. It's your brief but very valuable speech and your insights that you have spoken about the Indic studies. So we are indeed grateful to you for joining us today. We now move on to the lecture. Our speaker of the day is Professor K. Muthulekshmi, Vice Chancellor Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit, Kaladi, who will be speaking on Advaita and Ayurveda. I request Ms. Girija, Project Assistant at our department, to introduce the Honorable Speaker.
Good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce the speaker of the day, Honorable Professor Dr. K. Muthulekshmi ma'am. She did her PhD from the University of Kerala. Philosophical Traditions in Sanskrit, Kerala Streams of Sanskrit Tradition, Pedagogical Traditions in Sanskrit, Conceptual and Methodological Approaches. In Sanskrit śāstra tradition, these are her area of special interest. She has wide experience of 27 years in area of teaching and research. Ma'am has been conferred with Pratibha Puraskaram in the field of Sanskrit knowledge system by S. Kalani, and she has also been conferred with Kerala Sahitya Academy Award for her best translation for Charaka Paitrukam, translation of Legacy Dr. M.S. Valyathan. Ma'am has published several articles and also presented many papers across the country. She has also published 6 books in English and Malayalam. She is a member of various academic bodies like Textbook Development Committee, Sanskrit Text for Class 9th, SCERT Trivandrum. She is a convener of BA Humanism course, Academic Committee, Sri Narayan Guru Open University, and also the member of PG Board of Sanskrit Studies in various universities in Kerala, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. Ma'am has visited and engaged classes in Department of Sanskrit, University of Calcutta as a part of Teacher Exchange Program of Higher Education Councils of Kerala and West Bengal. She worked in Academic Council in SSUS Kaladi. She also chaired the position of Dean in the Department of Faculty of Indian Metaphysics SSUS. She was the chairperson of the committees like Board of Studies, Department of Vedanta, and the Research Committee. She was the head of the Department of Sanskrit Vedanta and the Director of Research and Development Cell, SSUS. And currently, she is the Pro-Vice Chancellor of Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit, Kaladi, Kerala. We are blessed to have her in this session, and I welcomed her on the behalf of Department of Sanskrit Studies, University of Hyderabad. Thank you.
Am I audible? Am I audible, sir?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, some echo is being heard. I think she has to mute. Yes. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Hyderabad University and all other dignitaries who are participating in this session, and all the students who are participating in this session. A very good evening to all. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for having invited me to deliver this talk as part of Tadvidyasambhāṣā, being held in Department of Sanskrit Studies, Hyderabad University. It is, of course, a matter to be proud to associate with Department of Sanskrit, Hyderabad University. Let us hope for more such collaborations of similar nature in future. As pointed out earlier, this program is named Tadvidyasambhāṣā, a discussion held among people working in same or similar kind of discipline. Tadvidyaihi saha kriyamana sambhāṣā, ayojyamana sambhāṣā. Tadvidyanam madhye vidyamana sambhāṣā, a peer group discussion. According to Charaka, the great Ayurvedic master, Tadvidyasambhāṣā is of two kinds, Sandhyasambhāṣā and Vigrihya-sambhāṣā. So I would like this session to be a Sandhyasambhāṣā, a discussion held among friends, a friendly discussion. Let us go before Charaka, who has formulated such insightful concepts about discussion and coined such words accordingly. I am from the discipline of Sanskrit Vedanta. In the course of my teaching and research over years, while reading Vedantic texts over and over again, what used to catch my attention is the way how concepts are formulated and the methodology behind that process. From that point of view, from that point of inquiry, I have come across several conceptual and methodological parallels and linkages among different schools of thought. Paratantravalokana is a practice held high in our tradition, knowledge tradition. Paratantravalokana, trying to understand disciplines different from one's own. This lecture is an outcome of such inquiry. What I present before you is not a finalized product, but some sort of an initial work which has to be developed further, which has to be theorized further, which has to be placed in a broader academic domain. As stated in the abstract, Advaita is a darśana which tries to understand and analyze life and its goal, focusing on the one ultimate principle inherent in beings and their subtle internal experiences. At the same time, Ayurveda is a śāstra which primarily instructs the means to experience Svāsthya, or holistic well-being based on the biological functions of both internal and external realms of life. Even though both of these intellectual streams seem to take divergent paths in the course of their declared goals, one can see several methodological and conceptual crosscurrents and conversations underlying them. This lecture explores the possibilities of understanding these trajectories that converse and crisscross each other. I am presenting before you certain points. Once again, I am saying which are to be developed and theorized further and placed in a broader academic domain. I will be using both languages, English and Sanskrit. For explaining Sanskrit portions, I will be using mostly Sanskrit. So let us start with consent from all of you. Let me start my presentation. This is the first slide, Advaita, Advaitic approach that I have stated earlier explains life and its goal on the basis of internal and subtle entity that is inherent in all beings, emphasizes the value of realizing that entity, and this focus of Advaita is clearly reflected in this mantra of Kathopanishad. Paranchi Ghani Vyatrinat Swayambhu Tasmat Parang Pashyati Na Andaratman Kashchid Dhiraha Pratyagatmanam Aikshit Avritta Chakshuhu Amrudatvam Icchan. Ghani, our senses, our indriyas are paranchi. They have the tendency to go outside. They are outward oriented. So they see not the self within, but they have always the tendency to look outwards. But once upon a time, Kashchid Dhiraha, one intelligent person, Pratyagatmanam Aikshat, not para, but Pratyagatma. Pratyagatma means Andaratma. Looked at Andaratma. He envisioned, he viewed, he perceived Andaratma. How Avritta Chakshuhu, he with his senses, with his indriyas turned back, desirous of immortality, Amrudatvam Icchan, desirous of immortality, he saw the self within. That is the position of Upanishadic position of the how an inquiry is to be done. That is that we have to realize our internal self. Next slide, please. And coming to Ayurveda, as stated earlier, explains life and its well-being holistically on the basis of organic constituents, functions of body, which are physical. Two verses are quoted here. Tasya upayogo abhihitaha chikilsam prati sarvada bhudebhyobi param yasmat nasti chinta chikilsite. It is from Sushruta Samhita. There is no consideration of any entity subtler than Panchabhutas, Panchamahabhutas. And one more verse from Charaka Samhita. Dharmartha kama mokshanam arogyam moolamuttamam rogaha tasya apahartaraha shreyaso jivitasya cha. So we have to eradicate, we have to remove rogas. So because arogyam is the uttamam moolam for attaining dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So arogya is important. Next slide. Thus, even though the two shastras seem to follow diverging paths and function in different premises, one outward and other inward, both of them employ certain methodologies commonly, formulate certain concepts in similar but unique fashion, share some basic approaches. Let me try to present before you what commonalities I have found between the two shastras. Next slide. The first one is Chaturvyuha Siddhanta. It is a methodology of presentation, methodology of perceiving one problem, methodology of how to address a problem from different angles, methodology of framing theoretical structure. Originally, it occurs in Vinaya Pitaka of Buddhism, in Dhamma Chakra Pravartana Sutta of Vinaya Pitaka. Vinaya Pitaka is written in the language of Pali. There it is stated, Dukkham, Dukkha Samudayaha, Dukkha Nirodhaha, Dukkha Nirodha Upayaha. Satya in Pali is termed as Satcha, Dukkha Satcha, Dukkha Samudaya Satcha, Dukkha Nirodha Satcha, Dukkha Nirodhopaya Satcha. So these are called Arya Satyas in Buddhism. Next slide. This theory of, this concept of Chaturvyuha Siddhanta has been adopted in several darśana schools, including Advaita. We will see them. Yoga Sutra. Yoga Sutra is, all of you may be knowing, Yoga Sutra written by Patanjali. Aphorisms, it is the basic text, basic authoritative text on Yoga Sutra. Tatra Yoga Sutre, sorry, I will be using Sanskrit in between. Yoga Sutre, that is Sutra. Parinama Tapa Samskara Dukkaihi Gunavritti Virodhacha Dukkhameva Sarvam Vivekinaha. Patanjali is addressing Dukkha, how to perceive Dukkha, how to address Dukkha. So Vyasa has written a Bhashya on Yoga Sutra. In his Bhashya, while commenting on this sutra, this particular sutra 215 sutra, Vyasa says, Tadasya Mahato Dukkha Samudayasya Prabhava Bijam Avidya. I think the Sanskrit lines are clear, meaning is clear. Tadasya, mostly Sanskrit people are there. Tadasya Mahato Dukkha Samudayasya Prabhava Bijam Avidya. Tasyascha Samyak Darshanam Abhava Heduhu. For removing, for avoiding, for transcending, overcoming avidya, Samyak Darshanam is the remedy, is the medicine. Then he says, Yatha Chikilsa Shastram Chaturvyuham Rogaha Rogahetuhu Arogyam Bhaishajyam. Direct reference to Chikilsa Shastram in yoga philosophical text. Yatha Chikilsa Shastram Chaturvyuham. He is using the term Chaturvyuha. This is the Chaturvyuha Siddhanta. Yatha Chikilsa Shastram Chaturvyuham Rogaha Rogahetuhu Arogyam Bhaishajyam iti. Evam, on that lines, idamapi shastram tadyatha samsaraha samsarahetuhu mokshaha mokshopayaha iti. Tatra he is explaining again, dukkha bahulaha samsaraha heyaha pradhana purusha samyogaha heya hetuhu. These are the theoretical aspects of yoga, Sankhya yoga philosophy. I'm not going to the explanation. Dukkha bahulaha samsaraha heyaha pradhana purusha samyogaha heya hetuhu samsarasya atyandigi nivrittihi hanam hanopayaha samyak darshanam. Next slide. Then we come to Nyaya Sutra, text on Nyaya Darshana. Nyaya Sutra 1.1. The Sutra 1.1 is stating 16 categories: Pramana, Prameya, Samshaya, Prayojana, Drishtanta, and the sutra ends Chala, Jadi, Nigraha Sthananam, Tattvajnanat, Nishreyasa, Athigamaha. Then Vatsyayana has written a commentary on it. So Vatsyayana explains, interprets the sutra like this: Heyam tasya nivartagam hanam atyandigam tasya upayaha adhigandavyaha ityetani Chatvari Arthapadani. Chaturvyuha Siddhantaha. Again, Chatvari Arthapadani Samyak Buddhva Nishreyasam Athigachati. So, how the process of attaining Nishreyasa is given in this explanation. Next slide. And then we come to the Ayurvedic text, Rasavaisheshika Sutra of Bhadanda Nagarjuna. First 3 sutras, Atha, Ataha, Arogya Shastram Vyakhyasiyamaha, Chaturvidhyam Athikritam Arogye, Arogyam, Lakshanam, Arogya Sadhanam, Arogya Phalam. Then the 3rd sutra, Tathacha Anarogye, Anarogyam, Anarogyam, Anarogya Lakshanam, Anarogya Sadhanam, Anarogya Phalam. So, the concept of Anarogya or concept of Arogya, its Lakshana, its Sadhana, and its Phalam. Next slide. And in Ashtanga Sangraha, we come across this shloka: Yatha pratikyatam iti kramena Vedoyam ashtanga nithir nibaddhaha abhyasyato margamiva arya satyam sanjayade Svāsthya parartha siddhihi. Practicing medical science on the lines of Arya Satya. And practicing medical science on the lines of Arya Satya means there is Yukti Chinda. Arya Satya means when we practice anything on the lines of Arya Satya, there is Yukti Chinda. There is a sincere effort to perceive things in their true essence, and above all, there is compassion towards others, and out of compassion only Buddha preached Arya Satya. So, practicing medical science, it is given. Charaka has, Vagbhada has given the value of practicing medical science on the lines of Arya Satyas. Next slide. And we come to our topic is cross connection linkages between Advaita and Ayurveda. Now, from the background of different darśana schools, we come to the Advaita text written by Shankaracharya named Upadesha Sahasri. Upadesha Sahasri, this is the second prakarana, Kutastha Advaya Atma Prakarana. First prakarana is Shishya Pratibodha Vidhi prakarana. And this text has two portions, Gadya Prabandha and Padya Prabandha. And Gadya Prabandha is written in the form of a dialogue happening between Guru and Shishya. Here, disciple to Guru, disciple says, Shishya says, Dukkham anubhavami, I experience Dukkham. And he asks about that Dukkha. Kimayam mama swabhavaha uda naimitikaha. Whether this Dukkha is inherent to me, inherent part of me, or born out of any particular cause, born out of any particular nimitta. Kimayam mama swabhavaha uda naimitikaha. Yadi swabhavaha, if this dukkha is my swabhava, name mokshasha, I am not desirous of moksha because swabhavasya avarjaneyatvad. Swabhava is inevitable. Atha naimitikaha, if this dukkha is naimittika, born out of any particular cause, nimitta parihare syat moksho bhavatihi. If we keep away that nimitta, I am hopeful of attaining moksha. Then Guru's answer is Shrunu Valsa, na tavayam swabhavaha kintu naimittikaha. This your dukkha is not your swabhava. It is born out of a particular cause only. Then again Shishya asks, Kim nimittam. Here we come to the Chaturvyuha. Kim nimittam. Kim va tasya nivartagam. Ko mama swabhavaha. Yasmin nivartite naimittika bhavaha. Roga nimitta nivritta viva rogi swabhavam prabadhyeya. Here also there is direct reference to medical science, Ayurveda śāstra. Kim va tasya nivartagam. Ko mama, meaning is clear. Kim nimittam, kim va tasya nivartagam. Kim dukkha nimittam, kim va dukkhasya nivartagam. Ko mama swabhavaha. Yasmin nivartite naimittika abhavaha. Roga nimitta parihare yatha rogi swabhavam svāsthyam pratipadyate tatha. Roga nimitta nivritta viva rogi swabhavam prapadyeya iti. Then Guru's answer is avidya nimittam, delusion, the inability to perceive things in their true spirit, that is avidya. Avidya nimittam, vidya tasya nivartika, the remedy is the vidya tasya nivartika. Avidyayam nivrittayam tan nimitta abhavad Mokshase Janma Marana Lakshanat. The solution is, remedy is given here. Next slide. So the importance of nimitta or cause is emphasized in all these texts in different ways. So I will show two more instances, textual instances to show the importance of nimitta, how nimitta is conceived. In Vedanta Paribhasha, the epistemological text on Vedanta, it is said, Karya vinasho hi divithaha. A matter, an entity, a karya can be destroyed in two ways. Kashchit upadanena saha, along with its cause. Kashchitu vidyamane eva upadane. Karya is destroyed, but its cause remains, is retained. Adyo bhathaha द्वितीयस्तु निवृत्तिः. आद्यस्य कारणम् अधिष्ठान तत्त्वसाक्षात्कारः, तेन विना उपादानभूतायाः अविद्यायाः अनिवृत्तेः. So destruction along with its cause is held high in Vedanta Paribhasha. Note karya, the symptom of lakshana, the destruction of the symptom of an effect is not suitable, but the effect has to be removed or destroyed along with its cause. In Sankhya Kariga also there is reference to the hetu or nimitta. Dukkha, the first Kariga, dukkhatraya abhikhadat jitnyasa tadapakhatake hetu. This Kariga, everybody, all students will be knowing. We are affected by three kinds of dukkhas, adhyatmika, adhibhautika and adhideivika. As we are getting affected, we are desirous of knowing the means, the cause for removing that dukkhatraya. So the emphasis is on identifying the hetu. Next slide. The importance of nimitta as in Ashtanga Sangraha, hetau, linge, prashamane, vyadhinam, apunarbhave, jnanam chaturvidham yasya sarajarho bhishaktamah. So apunarbhava, apunaravrti. In Vedanta there is a concept of apunaravrti. Apunarbhava of yoga is based on identifying and removing the hetu of yoga, as told in Vedanta Paribhasha, upadanena saha karyasya nashaha, causes apunarbhava of yoga. In Vedanta it is said adhisthana tattva sakshatkaraha, and in Sushrita Samhita it is clear only famous quotations, samkshepataha kriya yogaha nidana parivarjanam. The process of kriya yoga, treatment, chikilsa śāstra can be summarized, briefed as nidana parivarjanam. And there is theory of hetu viparita chikilsa, and I'm not an expert to explain all these concepts from the Ayurvedic point of view. All these theories need elaborate explanation by Ayurvedic experts. Next slide. And so we have I have put some references on Chaturvyuha Siddhanta, and in Chaturvyuha Siddhanta the importance given Chaturvyuha or four vyuhas, the importance given to nimitta. And now we come to the second point, adhisthana of yoga. Yoga has to be some adhisthana, or in Vedanta avidya has to be through a medium. So, adhisthana of yoga, medium of avidya. The substratum of yoga or arogya is conceived broadly as a composite including buddhi, mind and body. The Vedantic concept of three kinds of bodies and panchakoshas becomes relevant for envisioning the adhisthana or medium in a broad manner. All students may be knowing the theory of panchakoshas as given in Taittiriya Upanishad, and I think Ayurveda texts also advocate Panchakosha Siddhanta. these are 5 layers of body: Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. 5 layers of body. Annamaya Kosha is the outermost layer of this our body, and this is, as it is nourished by Annam, it is called Annamaya Kosha. Then Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya. Together these koshas is called Sukshma Sharira in Vedanta, and this Sukshma Sharira consists of our indriyas, karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, our 5 pranas, and buddhi and manas. Saptadasha avayavam Sukshma Shariram, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya. And then there is Anandamaya Kosha, the basis of our emotional and experiential level. And this Panchakosha, theory of Panchakosha, and there is theory of 3 kinds of bodies, and the theory of Panchakoshas and 3 bodies are conceptually related. Namaya is Sthula Sharira, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya is together called Sukshma Sharira, and then there is Karana Sharira. Karana Sharira is Avidya. Next slide. And then we come to Panchadashi, the 14th century Advaitic text written by Madhava Vidyaranya. He gives a sound explanation of Panchakoshas and three kinds of bodies. This is Panchadashi, Panja Prakarana, 15 Prakaranas, Panchadasha Prakaranas are there. There is Triptideepa Prakaranam. These 2 are verses 223 and 24 from Panchadashi. It is written, it is given, Sthulam Sukshmam Karanam Cha, Shariram Trividham Smritam, Avashyam Trividho Asteva, Tatra Tatra Ujito Jwaraha. That is from the Ayurvedic or medical science point of view. Sthulam Sukshmam Karanam Cha, Shariram Trividham Smritam. Clear. Meaning is clear. But Avashyam Trividho Asteva, Trividheshvapi Sharireshu, Tatra Tatra Uchito Jwaraha Asti. Sthula Sharire Kejana Jwaraha Sthula Shariram Badhande, Kejana Jwaraha Sukshma Shariram Badhande, Kejana Jwaraha Karana Shariram Api Badhande. There are respective diseases which affect Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira. And he goes on explaining which diseases affect which body, which kind of body. Vada Pitta Shleshmajasya Vyathayaha Kodishastano, Kodishaha Tanau. Tanu means here it is Tanu means body, here it is Sthula Sharira. Kodishaha Bahushaha. Vada Pitta Shleshmaja Nimittaha Vyathayaha Sthula Shariram Badhande. And their symptoms are Durgandhitva, Kurupatva, Daha, Bhangadayaha, Tadha. Daha is sense of burning, Bhanga means breaking up, Durgandhitva, Kurupatva meaning is clear. So, Vada, Pitta, Shleshmajaha, Vyathayaha, Sthula Shariram, Badhande. Next slide. And in then following lines, following verses, Kama Krodha, then we have only explained which diseases affect Sula Sharira. Now we come to Sukshma Sharira. Kama Krodhadayaha Shandi Dandyadyaha Linga Dehagaha. Linga Dehagaha means Sukshma Shariragaha, Sukshma Sharirajaha. Kama Krodha, Sukshma Sharire, Kama Krodhadayaha Santi, Shama Damadayaha, Shandi Dandyadayaha Cha Sandi, Jwaraha Dvayepi Badhande, Sukshma Shariram Badhande, Kamakrodhadi Rogaha Badhande, Shama Damadayaha Badhande. Katham Praptya Apraptya Naram Kramad. Kamakrodhadayah praptya. Kamakrodhadayah by their presence affect Sukshma Sharira. Shamadhamadayah by their absence affect the Sukshma Sharira of people. Then this Karana Sharira, we come to the Karana Sharira. Swam paramcha navetyatma vinashta iva karane agami dukkha bijam cha ittedad indrena darshitam. Swam yadi ahamasmi, I don't understand whether I exist or not. Swam, I don't understand whether another person exists or not. Swam param cha nava astiva nava iti na janami vinashta iva karane sarvam karane vinashta iva pradibhati. This Karana Sharira is bijam of agami dukkha. It is the source of dukkhas of past, present and future. Agami dukkha bijam cha ittedat indrena darshitam. Indrena darshitam means that is the reference to Indra Prajapati Samvada given in seen in Chandogya Upanishad. So Indrena darshitam. So we have explained which disease affects Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira. Next slide. Again in Vidyananda Prakarana of Panchadashi, Bhogyamichan Bhokturarthe Shariram Anusanjured Jwaraha Trishu Sharireshu Sthitaha. Trishu Sharireshu Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharireshu Jwaraha Sthitaha Jwaraha Santi Natu Atmano Jwaraha Atma Tattvam Jwaraha Na Badhande. Then again Vyadhayo Dhatu Vaishamye. Then the Ayurvedic concept of Dhatu Vaishamyam. Vyadhayaha Dhatu Vaishamye Sthula Dehe Sthitaha Jwaraha Kamakrodhadayaha Sukshme Dvayor Bijam tu Karane. I think the meaning is clear. Dhatu Vaishamya Nimittam. Dhatu Vaishamyena Karanena Vyathayaha Sthula Dehe Sthitaha Jwaraha Sthitaha Sukshma Dehe Kama Krodhadi Rogaha Sukshma Deham Badhande Doyoho Bijam Karana Sharire Asti Badhade. Then Ayurvedic relevance of Panchakoshas and three bodies. We have to explore the relevance of Panchakoshas and these three kinds of bodies in Ayurveda śāstra according to from the perspective of Ayurveda Siddhanta in a realistic way. And first verse of Ashtanga Hridaya is very famous. Everybody will be knowing. Ragadi Rogan Satatanu Shaktan Ashesha Kaya Prasrutan Asheshan Aulsukya Moha Aratidan Jaghana Yo Apurva Vedyaya Namostu Tasmai. So there is Ragadi Rogan Kamakrodhadaya Rogaha Ragadi Rogan Satatanu Shaktan Ashesha Kaya Prasrutan. Ashesha Kaya mostly generally Ashesha Kaya is explained as the whole body. While preparing for this presentation, one doubt or one question came to my mind. Can the usage of Ashesha Kaya mean the three kinds of bodies, Sthula, Sukshma and Karana? I don't know the answer. I'm not an expert to answer this also. It is I leave it to the Ayurvedic experts. Next slide. Then Charaka Samhita, Chikilsa. Then we concept to another concept, another condition, Roga condition of disease, Atattva Abhinivesha. Reference to Atattva Abhinivesha in Chikilsa Sthana, chapter 10. Then there is description of the roga of Atattva Abhinivesha, Malinahara Shilasya, Vegan Praptan Nigrinnada. Then it goes on. Then Hridaye Vyakule Doshaihi Atha Mudho Alpachetanaha Vishamam kurute buddhim nityanitye hitahite atatva abhinivesham tamahuraptaha mahagatam. Minute. This such condition is termed as atatva abhinivesha by scholars. Nityanitya vivechane, hitahita vivechane, nityanit vishamam kurute buddhim nityanitye hitahite. He cannot, a person affected by atatva abhinivesha is unable to discriminate between nitya and anitya. He is incapable of discriminate between hita and ahita. Such condition, such kalushya of buddhi is termed as atatva abhinivesha. It is termed as mahagada by Charaka. Next slide. And what is the remedy of atatva abhinivesha? Atatva abhinivesha, Charaka advocates many drugs as medicine to cure atatva abhinivesha. Along with the drugs, he says, suhrudasya anukulaha tam swaptaha dharmarthavadinaha samyojayeyuhu vijnana dhairya smriti samadhibhihi. Friendship is a medicine here. Friendship, maitri, sauhridam is a medicine. Suhridaha, what should the friends do? Friends means dharmarthavadinaha. Dharmam artham cha vadanti, dharmigam artham vadanti, dharmigam prayojanam kurvanti. They are called suhridaha, dharmarthavadinaha. What should they do? They have to connect this person with vijnana, dhairya, smriti and samadhi. So can come across many references similar to this in various Ayurvedic texts. So thinkers have observed that atatva abhinivesha, affinity towards atatva, a tendency to internalize atatva, a tendency to internalize the unreal, affinity towards the unreal is a condition which can be cured on the lines of Vedanta through dharma and real knowledge. Actually, my father, Sri Raghavan Thirumalpad himself has written about atatva abhinivesha from the point of Vedanta. The ethical aspect of Vedanta. Next slide. So these are the points I have presented. The first one was Chaturvyuha method of addressing a problem. Dukkha samudaya, dukkha nirodha upaya. There are several slight changes in the concept of Chaturvyuha in different disciplines, but generally they can be included in a framework of Chaturvyuha Siddhanta. Chaturvyuha method of addressing a problem. Then importance given to nimitta. Then adhisthana of yoga. A broad vision of adhisthana. Yoga specific to each adhisthana. Need of broadening the vision about yoga. What are yogas? Which are yogas? So about yoga, its cause, its adhisthana, and then the social or ethical and philosophical dimension of yoga, arogya, and the process of curing its treatment. And now, next slide. And now I'm stopping here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for this very enlightening lecture, especially from the Roga point of view. As an Ayurvedic physician, I deeply appreciate your lecture and I got to learn many things from you. We would now invite the audience for quick questions. So you may ask your questions very briefly to Madam.
Madam, can I ask?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, so namaste, Dr. Muthulekshmi. Very enlightening talk. So I really wanted to know about, the connection between the two paths, darshana and shāstra. Where do we place the role of compassion? Because you quoted some Buddhist texts also. And I remember that in the Metta Sutta of the Buddhists, the connecting link is the overemphasis on compassion, karuna, compassion, and so on. So I was just wondering whether there can be a bridge between the darshana and the shastra through this very, very important element that connects all of us in society. Thank you.
I can answer, or after all the questions I have to answer, or now itself?
You may answer, ma'am. You may please.
So I had pointed out there is compassion because in the concept of Arya Satyas, the Buddha put forward the theory of Arya Satyas only on the base out of compassion only. We can see, I have read Buddhist texts in Pali, this Vinaya Pidaga, the conversation between Buddha and his disciples are very much formulated on the basis of compassion. And in Buddhism, it is evidently, explicitly stated. But in Vedanta also, out of compassion only, that dharma, artha, everything operates on the basis of compassion only. Dharmarthavadinaha means compassion, that Maitri is out of based on compassion. So compassion, the point put forward by you is very much relevant. Maybe it is that we can highlight the aspect of compassion, the bridge that connects the Shastra and the philosophy, darshana. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions?
Namaste, ma'am.
Yes, please go ahead with your question.
Ma'am, my question is like, how cardinally should we differentiate Shastra and Darshana? Because when we read Ayurvedic syllabus many a times, Ayurveda can be regarded as Darshana. Such opinions also come. So, what factors should we take to differentiate, or all are both the same?
Actually, terminology is a problem. How to explain the terminology, which is Shastra, which is a Darshana. Ayurveda has a Darshana, Ayurveda Darshanam is there, and Vedanta Shastra, we speak of Vedanta as a Shastra, Vedanta Shastra, Advaita Shastra, Nyaya Shastra, Vyakarana Shastra. So how to differentiate between Shastra and Darshana, I think, in my opinion, if we categorize Darshana and Shastra with specific characteristics, even then, each Shastra will have its own that different part. Shastra has Darshana part, Darshana has Shastra part also. And the Darshana and Shastra are interlinked. Each Shastra will have some part of Darshana, and each Darshana will have some aspect of Shastra also. So the terminology depends. I think even I have used the two terms in different meanings in this presentation itself.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions from the audience? Are there any questions?
Dr. Vinaya?
Yes, sir.
Eminent scholars are here today. We are so blessed to have Professor Murali sir and Professor Prasad sir.
Indeed, sir.
Maybe we can request them also to throw some light or, in the context of the lecture, because they're so eminent and they're so scholarly. We should not miss their views.
Excellent.
So we can request.
Sure, sir. Murli, sir? Are you connected?
Prasad sir is also there.
Prasad, sir? If you are connected, please.
Namaskaram, sir. Namaskaram, sir.
Namaskaram, sir.
I was listening to the lecture with enthusiasm, because it is always a very interesting topic, how to connect the Vedantic principles with the Ayurveda darśana, or the perspective of Ayurveda. It was really interesting. Actually, in person, I think I have discussed some of these points with Dr. Muthulekshmi. I call her Muthu Chechi earlier. And now I got an elaborate version of what we were discussing earlier in small bits and pieces. Now I have got a elaborate version of all those bits and pieces, or nuts and bolts, together to make it a complete view of the relation between Ayurvedic perspective and Vedantic perspective of truth, or the inquiry to truth. Anyway, I think I have a feeling that Ayurveda has taken the basic ideas of mainly three aspects. Number one, the view about the Bhakya Prapancha, or the material world. Then the view about Atma, and third one maybe the view about the salvation or moksha. And it has taken enough wherever it is required from various sources. But interestingly, in a very direct reading, we will meet with maybe Sankhya, Vaisheshika, and to a good extent Nyaya, not about Vedanta. In a first read or a direct reading, we will be finding connections with these three. That means Sankhya, Vaisheshika, and Nyaya. But I always felt that there are many concepts which Ayurveda has taken, absorbed, or assimilated from the Vedantic view of explaining the nature. Now I think with this presentation, things have become clearer, and now I think that has created a pool which is sufficient to feed, to think more about the connection and how the Ayurveda darśana was developed, taking leads from all these other schools of Indian philosophy. So thank you very much for this lecture. Thank you very much for this opportunity as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prasad, sir. Thank you for joining and giving us valuable insights. Any other questions? Anybody could pose a question.
Murli sir has joined.
Murli sir, kindly share your thoughts on this topic.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Muthulekshmi has put forth several concepts where Vedanta and Ayurveda converge, and I think it has paved some more areas where further explorations can be done by scholars of Ayurveda and Sanskrit. One or two points I may wish to add is, one is on Nimitta Karana. So yaval nimitta karanasthayi dravyam is the concept, but in logically speaking, in many occasions, that may not be seen true, because when Turivemadikam Padasya, for the as a cause of nimitta karana of pada or cloth, the instruments used to weave cloth are considered as nimitta karana. But if we destroy this Turivemadikam, that will not cause the destruction of padam or cloth. But so this yaval nimitta karana sthayi dravyam may not be applicable in several material situations. But body is something dynamic. Life is something dynamic. So the nimitta karanam of diseases are considered as mithyahara viharam or asapme indriyartha samyogam, kalam. So these are considered as the nimitta karana of diseases. So these the environment and our contacts with sense objects, all these are always in contact with the body. So as a dynamic principles, so this has to be corrected to get relieved from the diseases. So in such context, this nimitta karanam has to be avoided. Only then we can get a complete relief from the disease. This nimitta karanam, this removal of nimitta karanam is applied by Ayurveda as pathya. So that may be added, and this is something different from the other darshanas or shāstras in the case of nimitta karanam, I feel. Another point I wish to add is some of the intellectuals in Kerala argue that the theory of Maya has actually affected the development of material sciences in India. So that may not be true, I feel, because actually the Vedanta has contributed to materialism also, even though we consider it as an idealistic philosophy. It has actually contributed to materialism also by the way of introducing the theory of Panjikarana, etc. So this Panjigaranam, which is unique to Vedanta, is very well utilized by Ayurveda also in the context of developing the pharmacodynamic principles. So actually, even though this Vedanta is idealistic, it has contributed to the materialism. That is a point I wish to add. Only this much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Madam, would you like to comment on Professor Murli sir's observations?
That Panchikarana, of course, can be added to this presentation, because Panchikarana, that concept of Indriyas, evolution of Indriyas is differently conceived, conceptualized in different darshanas. It is differently conceived in Sankhya. It is differently conceived in Nyaya. And Vedanta, this Ayurveda concept of Panchikarana, that's Mishra Rupatva. That of course we can add to this presentation, and it is a good suggestion.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think Dr. G.P.K. Rao Garu is also there, who is a great lover of Ayurveda, and he has conducted some activities in this direction. Sir, would you like to share something with us? Dr. G.P.K. Rao Garu. I think there might be a problem in unmuting. Yeah, please go ahead. Dr. Vidya, please go ahead.
Okay. Any other questions?
Young doctors are here. I'm seeing Dr. Vairamuthu. Of course, Dr. Sharda has already asked her question from Mysore Government Oriental College, Ayurveda College. Then, yeah, there are some new names. Of course, I'm sorry, I don't know. Our own research scholars are here. So, if you want to... Yes, sir. Kindly, sir. Dr. J.B.K. Rao garu.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead with your
Unmute.
question.
Unmute.
Please unmute, sir. You are not audible.
Sir, unmute. We cannot listen to you. Unmute.
Please unmute, sir.
Yeah, now it's okay. So, Muthulekshmi garu is Namaskaramulo. You have given an Atma, Paramatma, and Vedic way of teaching. Ayurveda is always that is brought from the Vedas only. That our main internal world or external world. Unless Nimitta Matra means that is where, unless we go in silence, that is maunam, or about us, what is really who I am. And that concept only we can know much better about our life or the whole universe. So in this direction, certainly this session will go further on real Vedic way of living the life. That is the need of the hour. So I'm glad that such sessions, Prasad Garu is always looking in this direction. We must know thoroughly about ourselves. How to know about ourselves, then only we can think of it, the real progress. The present world is completely, worldly, everything is worldly matters. People are forgetting about our ancient or Vedic Rishi Sanskriti in ahar or in way of life. So in this direction, next sessions, if we go, it will be very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind observations. Any questions? There are so many students. It's a wonderful opportunity to place the questions directly to your scholars. You have a great opportunity here to speak to Madam herself. Anyone from our department? Madam, may I pose a small question to you? The Charaka Sharira Sthana is very philosophical, and the Loka Purusha Samya there actually speaks about Brahma, and the representation of Brahma is the Antaratma. So I thought that is the initial, the first step of is it Vedantic concept? Just wanted to...
Exactly, that is not a Vedantic concept.
Okay.
But it is some kind of spiritual inquiry. We should not be satisfied with the explaining all that we directly see, all that we directly perceive, directly know from by our sensual indriya anubhava. There is something more than that. There is something transcending all this. So such a tendency to view things from a broad perspective can be say as the tendency behind those statements.
There is interconnectedness.
Yes.
There. That concept I was... thank you, ma'am. Thank you for clarifying. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your very enlightening lecture. And it was very good that you have presented it from the Roga and from the, you have shown the practical side of Vedanta and its applications in Ayurveda, which is very, very interesting. And I'm sure there will be many vistas opening with your lecture. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I now invite our head of the department, Professor J.S.R. Prasad, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir.
Madam, thank you very much for that wonderful lecture, because the title itself is clarifying the conversations and cross currents between Vedanta and Ayurveda. Even some 15 years back, I was thinking that Ayurveda is limited only to some kashayams and churnams. But when I first time read the Sushrata Samhita, the first Sutrasthana and the first Adhyaya, I was really astonished to see so much of philosophical fundamentals in a medical science, indigenous medical science called Ayurveda. That is how I was attracted to study Samhitas and to work further in this interdisciplinary research of Sanskrit and Ayurveda. As many scholars expressed it, this opens up many vistas of new ideas and research to go further in this direction. As part of your presentation, I think broadly you were trying to mention about the vyuhas, chaturvyuhas, that is common to Sankhya, Yoga, Bauddha Darshana, and Ayurveda, plus Vedanta. As much as I see, they talk about dukkha, samsara, heya, etc., which are conveying the same meaning. What is the root cause of the problem? So when you say dukkha, dukkha sanyoga, vyapaya, how the diseases emerge because of dukkha. Dukkha is the root cause of any disease, as per Shushrata. Of course, this is a generic statement in Ayurveda also. That is why to find out the root cause and to come out with a remedy for that is the goal of the darshana, as Sharada was also asking, śāstra and darshana. Darshayati iti darshana, śāsate iti śāstra. As you mentioned rightly, both are, there is a convergence of the ideas and they are synonymous with each other. In fact, some of these terminologies are domain-specific terminologies which are having a lot of overlapping with each other. So that way, you are also mentioning about the Arya Satyas. The Arya Satyas are really dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, marga, as mentioned in Buddhist philosophy. So this is one part that you try to attempt, considering different references from different darshanas. Then you come to the Vedanta. You also spoke about Upadesha Sahasri, the dialogue between Guru and Sishya. That was really very enlightening, because the cause and effect concept in Vedanta Paribhasha and Sankhya Karika, Roga Nimitta Nivurta Viva, and so on and so forth. These are all connecting with each other. This is one part. Then the Nimitta Karana, as rightly mentioned by Dr. Murali sir. Yes, I think this Panchikarana is a wonderful concept. And Sarvam Dravyam Panchabhautikam Asmin Ardhe, as Charaka says, everything is made up of 5 gross elements of the entire creation. There is nothing that is not emerged out of the conglomeration of these 5 gross elements. So that way, Charaka or Shushrata or any such Shastrakara have taken as the basis of their darshanas, on which, on the edifice of this philosophy, the entire science is standing. The entire medical science is standing. So you quoted from Ashtanga Sangraha, then Antakarana is the substratum of either disease or health. That was a very good point, very interesting point, because you also mentioned the first shloka of Ashtanga Hridaya, Ragadi Rogan Satatanushaktan, Aseshakaya Prasudan Aseshan. I also thought in this direction. The first word is Raga. Raga is attachment. This is related to the psyche. The psyche is in the Antakarana, Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahankara. So this becomes the seat of either health or disease. In fact, there is a very good observation, because they say, Manayeva Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Mokshaya. Mind itself the binding factor for the bond or the release. That is why the disease and health also conservingly they consider the same aspect. And Atattva Abhinivesha, that is another interesting aspect as part of the mental health discussed in Ayurveda. That is also you linked with Vedanta. I think dharmarthavadinaha is a word that you mentioned as connected to this. And achara rasayana and all in Ayurveda as part of the Svāsthya are directly addressing these kind of problems. So achara based on dharma is very, very important in context of the treatment protocol to be devised. And to add my own 2 cents to this from Vedantic perspective, Shraddha tavaha samuditaha Purusha Sabdena Uchante. The Purusha himself is Brahma here. Purushete iti Purushaha. The Atma that dwells in the body is called Purusha. That means, irrespective of the gender, the word Purusha is used here. So, what are the Shraddhatus? All Panchamahabhutas plus Brahmacha Avyaktamiti. Atma is Brahma over there. The 5 plus 1 Atma becomes 6. These are the 6 dhatus. The word is very interesting. It is used as dhatu. 5 bhutas are fine, but this is also narrated as a dhatu. That is quite interesting in context of Charaka. And Rajastamobhyam yuktasya sanyogoyam anantavan. Charaka says. Probably your question on Aseshakaya, you are asking Ayurveda scholars. Aseshakaya means, I may be wrong. Probably Murali sir is here, he can correct me. For many past births, we have accumulated so many samskaras. Probably it is referring to that particular samskara over the course of so many births, millions of births, because Purana says 84 lakhs of births for a soul. We don't know how many have passed on. Bahuni me Vititani, Janmani, Tavacharjana, as mentioned by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita also. That way, this Sanyoga is Ananta, as mentioned by this association between the body and the soul is Ananta, as mentioned by Charaka. There is another aspect connected with Vedanta. And interestingly, Charaka also spoke about Aishanas, the desires to be attained by the person, the Pranashana, Putrashana, and Dhaneshana. And Vedanta also talks about the same Aishanas. Srimad Bhagavatam also talks about the same Aishanas. That way, I think plenty of material is there to be researched, to be studied within the confluence of Vedanta and Ayurveda. Your lecture really is highly enlightening in this direction, especially for the research scholars and the students to go further in this direction. So I look forward for more such interactions from your university, especially from you, being a scholar in Vedanta and also having experience in Ayurveda. And I also would like to thank you very much once again for accepting the invitation, giving a wonderful lecture to the audience here, and which is the first inaugural lecture in the series of Tadvidyasambhāṣā. And it was so nice that you also explained very nicely the meaning of Tadvidyasambhāṣā, Tadvidyasambhāṣā, and so on. So once again, I thank you, madam, for this wonderful lecture. And also, I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor B.J. Rao, sir, briefly. Then Professor Murali, sir. In fact, I just saw a comment in the YouTube chat box. Sri C.S. Balakrishnan Nair, sir. Probably he is listening this from Kerala. He mentioned that it is fortunate to learn basics of Vedanta, Ayurveda, and Bauddha Darshana from Raghavan Thirumalpal. Because Madam is there, Murali sir is there, and the dearest disciple, Professor Prasad sir, was also there. What else you require? Atma vai putra namasi. So that is why he appeared here in this lecture today. We are so blessed. So thanks for that wonderful observation. And also, I would like to thank Professor M. Prasad sir. He's a very eminent scholar in Ayurveda. And Professor Aloka Parashar Senji for being here and also asking a wonderful question. And Professor A.R.V. Murthy from Bangalore who joined, who is working in Ayurveda for a long time and a specialist in mental health in Ayurveda. Dr. Akhilesh, Dr. Sudhiranji, and young doctors like Sharada and Vairamuthu, and people whom I don't know. I'm sorry for that. And who and all joined here today. I thank you one and all for this gracious presence to make this lecture a grand success. And at the same time, let me thank my own colleagues, Dr. Vinaya PN, visiting fellow in the department, for comparing the entire lecture and organizing in a wonderful way. And Mr. Abhilal Gangopadhyay, for such a scholar, for arranging all this lecture slides, including YouTube live and all. He was behind all this, making posters and that. So Abir was also there. Then Girija, who introduced the speaker, and all those who helped directly and indirectly to make this lecture realized. I thank one and all for joining us today. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you all.